Okay, I have decided to give the paperback editions of the middle stories their own video. This is the Canadian first printing of the paperback edition. The Canadian hardcover is the true first. This is the Canadian paperback. I like the cover. It's interesting to me. So, the paperback cover has a picture of the hardcover book. Uh, a well-worn, well-read hardcover book. I think it's cool. Not thrilled with the wood grain behind it, but I do like the cover. Have never seen a signed one. Have never seen one in really good condition either. Uh, it's not really collectible. Booksellers don't handle it. They're not worth anything. So I've got a couple of copies. Did the best I could. Someday I will see a signed one. Someday I may see a bookseller that has a really nice one. I'm not really optimistic. It's just not on anybody's radar or something to keep a nice copy of. So that's the Canadian paperback. Published by Anansi, as was the hardcover. At the same time as the Canadian paperback was published, the U.S. paperback was published. It's 2002. Hardcover 2001, paperback 2002. McSweeney's published the U.S. paperback. And like the Canadian paperback, they're not really deemed collectible in any way. I've never seen a great copy. Very good minus, about the best I've seen, and that's being generous. Nobody cares about the paperbacks, which is unfortunate because the U.S. paperback is particularly interesting. There are 4 cover variants to start. The picture on the cover is pasted on. It is black and white picture that's been literally pasted on to the front cover. So that's pretty cool idea. And there are 4 different pictures pasted on the paperbacks. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's exactly the kind of thing McSweeney's would do. The 2003 catalog says that there are 5 cover variants. Maybe there are, but I've handled a bunch of these books, and I've got an image library of a bunch more of these books. I have never seen this 5th cover. My feeling is they intended 5 covers, something changed, and there are only 4. Not uncommon for McSweeney's to put out a catalog, and what really happens isn't what the catalog said was coming. So I feel pretty good there are only 4 pictures, only 4 cover variants, despite the 2003 catalog saying there are 5. I'd be thrilled to find a 5th one, but I'm not expecting that to fall in my lap. Also, Sheila, Heti, and friends had a defacing party, and every cover of the print run was defaced, either with black Sharpie or whiteout. Whiteout being the old-timey correct typographical error whiteout for typewriters. So this one here is defaced with black Sharpie. They put a mask on the beard dude. And here is the beard dude again. They've gotten rid of him completely with whiteout. So we have 4 cover variants from the 4 pictures, but a defacing party where Sheila Heti and her friends used either black Sharpie or whiteout and wrecked all their covers. So if you say that whiteout is a variant of the beard guy and black Sharpie is a variant of the beard guy, you say there are 8 cover variants with the stipulation that no 2 covers are the same. Another picture, the black guy. He's been defaced with black Sharpie here. They've blackened his eyes. And here we have a black guy defaced with whiteout. Some white little circles here. This is pretty cool. I like this. It reminds me a bit of Lawrence Krauser's Lemon, where, although he had a lot harder time doing sketches for 8,000 or 9,000 covers. Okay, we have the dorky kid in a chair. He is defaced with Sharpie. They've drawn a little heart on his shirt. This copy is signed. It's the only signed copy of the US edition that I've seen. So signed US paperback, very nice. And here we have this one. Now I do not have this cover defaced with whiteout, so I'm missing dorky kid in a chair with whiteout. If anybody has one, I need it. This one is, the picture was put on upside down. Pretty sure this was a mistake. The only one I've seen like that. He's been defaced with black Sharpie. They've just scribbled his face out. Didn't put a whole lot of effort into anything on this one. But it's interesting because they put the picture on upside down. And this one is the dorky kid, another dorky kid. This one's dancing or something. He has been defaced with black Sharpie. Again, I do not have this picture defaced with whiteout. I suspect there are a fair number more copies defaced with black Sharpie than with whiteout. Black Sharpie would have been probably easier and faster. The copies that I've handled, the copies that I've seen, believe there are fair bit more covers with black Sharpie than whiteout. So I've got 2 of the 4 with whiteout. I've got all 4 with Sharpie. This was, the middle stories was in issue 4. The chapbook was called The Middle Tales. The Middle Tales. And it was renamed for the book, both the hardcover, Canadian First, and the follow-up paperbacks, The Middle Stories. Now, the US edition of the paperback is not the same as the Canadian edition of the paperback. The US edition was censored. Was and is censored. They took 9 stories out of the US paperback. They did put in 1 story that did not appear in any of the Canadian editions. But they took out 9 stories. They censored the book. The Evidently, it was felt that these 9 stories they took out didn't suit the mood of the time or some thing like that. This came out right around after 9/11. And it was decided after 9/11 that these 9 stories would offend people's sensibilities or some such. Anyway, it's kind of disappointing they would do that, but they did. So this book is not the same as this book. It's missing 9 stories, and they threw in 1 to add some content back. Then, 10 years later, for the 10th anniversary, which isn't a book I would have thought would get a 10th anniversary, but it did, the middle stories was re-released, a new edition, 2012. And this is the U.S. paperback, also published by McSweeney's. And the Canadian paperback has an extremely similar cover to this. I do not have the Canadian paperback. Far as I can tell, the only real difference is there's a little colophon of the penguin on the front cover. The Penguin published the 2012 Canadian edition for Canada. And I believe that's the only difference really in the cover, is the colophon of the penguin. And for the 10th anniversary edition, which was PBO in Canada and the US. Now, here, now, with 9 more stories, without a word about any of the backstory about why there are 9 more stories now. Now, with 9 more stories. The 9 stories they wouldn't let you have 10 years ago. For the 2012 reissue edition, McSweeney's restored the middle stories to what it was supposed to be and what it should have been in 2002. They put back the 9 stories they censored out, and the one they added in, they took out. So, the 2 McSweeney's editions, the middle stories, are not the same at all. This one's missing 9 stories, and it has a story the other one doesn't. And in the reissue, they didn't bother to explain any of that. Nothing about the context, you know, we censored your book way back when. No, they just brag on how this one has 9 more stories now. And when they censored the book, in the middle tales, in the chapbook of issue 4 of the Quarterly Concern, this has 5 stories. 2 of those 5 stories are the censored and banned stories they wouldn't let people have in the paperback edition. So that is the story of, or most of the story, the story I can remember on the fly here, of the Canadian, the Canadian first paperback, 2002. The U.S., the U.S. 2002, first paperback by McSweeney's. This was the McSweeney's chapbook from issue 4. And the reissue 2012 in the U.S. by McSweeney's, in Canada by Penguin, with the same humdrum, not very interesting cover Basically the same cover for both. And that is, I'll shut up now anyway. Bye.